The United States imposed a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports, sparking European Union retaliation. On February 10, 2025, President Donald Trump imposed a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports, aiming to protect U.S. domestic industries from foreign competition. However, shockwaves through America's trade partners, particularly in Europe. Within 1 month, France retaliated, enacting severe trade restrictions against the United States. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot made it clear, "We will not allow Washington to dictate trade policies to the European economy." Immediate consequences: U.S.-France trade relations hit an all-time low. Automakers on both sides suffer as supply chains face disruption, and the EU intervenes, considering retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products. Could this be the beginning of a full-scale trade war between the U.S. and Europe? Steel and aluminum are crucial for car manufacturing, making up over 70% of a vehicle's weight. The tariffs have sent European production costs soaring by 15 to 20%. Major European automakers affected include Renault and Peugeot from France, and Volkswagen, BMW and Mercedes-Benz from Germany. Economic fallout: car prices in the EU could increase by $3,000 to $5,000 per vehicle. European car sales may decline by 8,025, and over 50,000 jobs in France and Germany are at risk. Surprisingly, American car manufacturers are not spared. Ford and General Motors, which import key components from Europe, face higher production costs. With automakers on both sides struggling, industry leaders urge Washington and Brussels to negotiate a solution. However, neither side is willing to back down. Amid escalating tensions with the United States, France is actively strengthening trade ties with China. By 2023, France-China trade had already surged to $79 billion, a 25% increase from the previous year. By 2025, French companies had expanded partnerships in EV technology, aerospace, agriculture, and food exports. Strategic agreements: Renault and Peugeot partner with Chinese giants BYD and CATL, gaining access to advanced battery technology and reducing reliance on U.S. suppliers. Joint EV manufacturing deals expand France's presence in the Asian market. French President Emmanuel Macron has made it clear. Emmanuel Macron: France's economic future cannot depend solely on the United States. Strengthening our ties with China opens new doors for innovation and sustainable growth. This move signals a major shift in global trade alliances, challenging U.S. economic dominance. The European Commission is now reviewing countermeasures against the United States, including increasing tariffs on U.S. car imports up to 20 to 30%, taxing U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas, and restricting U.S. companies' access to the EU aviation and tech markets. Emmanuel Macron: Europe cannot allow its economy to be dictated by unilateral decisions from Washington. If these countermeasures take effect, the world could be on the brink of a full-scale trade war, with ripple effects across global industries. As tensions escalate abroad, domestic turmoil grips the U.S. More than 500,000 migrants are about to lose legal status. Meanwhile, Trump's meme coin collapses, wiping out millions in savings, and foreign investors are quietly pulling out of U.S. markets. A front-page report from the Miami Herald reveals that by late April, over 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Venezuela, Haiti, and Nicaragua will lose their protected legal status. Among them are teachers, small business owners, asylum seekers, and long-term residents. They now face two grim choices: forced deportation or indefinite detention in foreign-run centers, particularly in El Salvador. Observers describe El Salvador's detention facilities as bat-filled concentration camps. However, Trump's allies defend the policy, comparing lawful asylum seekers to gang members without due process, court rulings. As the nation grapples with the fallout, Trump took to Truth Social, not to address the migrant crisis or calm investors, but to promote his personal meme coin. Yes, amid economic uncertainty, Trump's cryptocurrency, once hyped as the next big thing, has now lost billions in value, evaporating retirement funds, 401k savings, and loyal supporters' investments. And that's not the only financial red flag. Trump's media company, Trump Media and Technology Group, is also facing major setbacks. Truth Social's stock has dropped by nearly 48% in just 1 year, almost half its value gone. This follows a pattern seen throughout Trump's business history. From casinos to airlines to Trump University, many of his businesses have failed, gone bankrupt, or faced lawsuits. Now, this same instability is spreading to national markets. This Sunday, Fox News sources revealed a shocking new trade strategy. Trump is reportedly sending sealed envelopes to foreign governments, each containing hidden tariff rates. They'll all open them at the same time, like a game show, said one advisor. Except this time the prize is 50% tariffs. Global leaders from Canada to the EU are not amused. This is not how diplomacy works. This is not how economic leadership is built. The result? Foreign investors are pulling back from the U.S. according to the Wall Street Journal. In 1960, foreign investors owned just 2% of U.S. stocks. That number rose to 18%, with almost half of it coming from Europe. If investors start leaving, it could shake pension funds, stock markets, and the entire U.S. economy. Trump's national security team is taking a hard-line stance on deportations. Even if judges try to block them, officials say, "I don't care what the judges say, we'll keep going." This sets a dangerous precedent. The U.S. was founded on laws, but ignoring court orders directly challenges the Constitution. Multiple verified cases show innocent people were falsely labeled as gang members and deported. These include asylum seekers, barbers, soccer coaches, and even women, sent to a men's detention center in El Salvador. This isn't just bad policy, it's a failure of both execution and ethics. A new report has revealed that Trump's team is seeking corporate sponsorships for traditional White House events, including the Easter egg roll. Both Republicans and Democrats are shocked, calling it the unprecedented monetization of civic tradition. Germany is now reconsidering its $8.4 billion deal to buy 35 F-35 fighter jets from the U.S. This move has shocked defense experts worldwide. But the issue isn't about the jet's performance. It's about a kill switch. This built-in feature allows the U.S. to disable the jets remotely. Now, as tensions grow between Washington and Europe, Germany is asking, if the U.S.-Europe alliance weakens, could the U.S. use this control against us? Trump's economic and trade policies are causing global uncertainty. Foreign investors are backing away from the U.S., Germany, and other NATO allies are shifting away from American weapons. The world is rethinking its dependence on U.S. leadership. The next few months could reshape global trade, defense, and diplomacy for years to come. Trump's latest speech promised economic relief, lower taxes, and a stronger America. But in reality, his policies seem to be doing the opposite. Trump claimed, "We will end inflation immediately. We will cut taxes for domestic production. We will provide 100% tax expensing." Yet in the same week, the stock market plunged 1,300 points, and prices for food, electronics, and building materials continued to rise. An economic expert responded, "Trump's claims do not reflect reality. His tariff policies and trade wars with Canada and China have increased raw material costs, making inflation worse, not better." Trump also vowed to dismantle bureaucratic institutions and remove unelected officials, declaring, "The days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over." Yet just days later, his administration canceled a major telecommunications contract with Verizon and gave it to Elon Musk's Starlink instead. A political analyst pointed out the irony. Trump claims he's removing unelected officials, but he's handing over part of the government to a tech billionaire. But what really stood out wasn't the protest itself. It was how the Democratic Party reacted. Instead of unity, Democrats appeared divided, disorganized, and struggling to control their message. We're becoming like car alarms, loud and ignored. This is not a winning strategy. While progressives defended Green's actions, moderate Democrats were furious, arguing that this kind of disruption only made them look weak and out of control. The recent congressional chaos, economic instability, and shifting global alliances paint a concerning picture for the future of U.S. leadership. The Democratic Party's internal struggles, Trump's controversial policies, and foreign nations distancing themselves from America all signal a moment of reckoning. The real question is, where does the U.S. go from here? For decades, the United States has been the dominant force in global affairs. But now, that dominance is being challenged. Europe is moving away from U.S. military reliance. Germany, Canada, and Portugal are reconsidering their F-35 deals. European countries are investing in their own defense technology. The trust gap between the U.S. and NATO allies is widening. Foreign investors are pulling back. Economic instability and Trump's unpredictable policies are making foreign investors hesitant to keep their money in the U.S. If European investments decline, it could destabilize key markets. France and China are strengthening ties. France is forging new partnerships in electric vehicle production, aerospace, and agriculture. If more European nations follow, the U.S. could lose economic influence in the region. If this trend continues, we may see a new era where private tech billionaires hold significant control over government policies. The next few months will be crucial in shaping the future of the Democratic Party. Can they recover and present a strong, unified opposition? Trump's campaign. Will his controversial policies continue to strengthen his base, or will economic struggles start to erode support? U.S. global leadership. Can America repair its alliances, or will it continue to lose influence in Europe and beyond? The economy. Will Trump's trade war approach create growth or recession? With so much uncertainty, one thing is clear. The world is watching. Will the U.S. remain the dominant power it once was, or is a new global order emerging? The answer may define the next decade. Stay tuned. This story is far from over. The events unfolding now could reshape history, and we'll be here to break it all down as it happens. Stay with us for more in-depth analysis, and don't forget to share your thoughts. Where do you think America is headed? Let us know in the comments below. The United States imposes a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports, sparking European Union retaliation. On February 10, 2025, President Donald Trump imposed a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports, aiming to protect U.S. domestic industries from foreign competition. However, this policy sent shockwaves through America's trade partners, particularly in Europe. Within 1 month, France retaliated, enacting severe trade restrictions against the United States. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot made it clear, "We will not allow Washington to dictate trade policies to the European economy." Immediate consequences: U.S.-France trade relations hit an all-time low. Automakers on both sides suffer as supply chains face disruption, and the EU intervenes, considering retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products. Could this be the beginning of a full-scale trade war between the U.S. and Europe? Steel and aluminum are crucial for car manufacturing, making up over 70% of a vehicle's weight. the tariffs have sent European production costs soaring by 15 to 20%. Major European automakers affected include Renault and Peugeot from France, and Volkswagen, BMW and Mercedes-Benz from Germany. Economic fallout: car prices in the EU could increase by $3,000 to $5,000 per vehicle. European car sales may decline by 8% in 2025, and over 50,000 jobs in France and Germany are at risk. Surprisingly, American car manufacturers are not spared. Ford and General Motors, which import key components from Europe, face higher production costs and lower profitability. With automakers on both sides struggling, industry leaders urge Washington and Brussels to negotiate a solution. However, neither side is willing to back down. Amid escalating tensions with the United States, France is actively strengthening trade ties with China. By 2023, France-China trade had already surged to $79 billion, a 25% increase from the previous year. By 2025, French companies had expanded partnerships in EV technology, aerospace, agriculture, and food exports. Strategic